At the time that you first found out about the atomic bomb, did you regard it as a curse or a blessing to mankind?
Well, I thought it was a blessing. I thought it could be used and made a blessing. I never worried about its being a curse. I wanted a weapon that would win the war, and it did. That's what I was interested in.
The United Nations was already in the process of being formed at that time, and with the atomic bomb in our exclusive possession, what were our chances of preventing another war?
The United Nations was called to meet on the 16th, I think, of July in San Francisco. And the first decision I had to make after I became President of the United States, the newspapermen came in and asked me if the United Nations meeting would take place. The United Nations meeting did take place, and I went to San Francisco and set them to work.
Did it seem to you that the demonstration of the bomb to put an end to the horrible war might give humanity a good chance of really being frightened to death, and that such overwhelming fear would become the compellent deterrent to war?
No, I never had any such feeling at all. I was thought of that as a weapon of war, and as a weapon that was powerful enough to win that war. After we made the demonstration of it in Texas, in New Mexico, when the first one was exploded in New Mexico, the word came to me in Potsdam just exactly what had happened. 2 pages on legal type paper, and it was a long, weepy proposition. And I showed it to the members of the cabinet that were there, and I said, now, we're in a shape to win the war without with very few casualties on our side.
When he was offered the work on the hydrogen bomb, he did not want to do it. Yet you said to go ahead to work on the hydrogen bomb.
That's correct.
I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. I suppose we all thought that, one way or another.
Well, he was like all the scientists are. They discover these things and find out how terrible they are, and then they don't want to take any blame for the consequences if there is blame. But that didn't make any difference. He didn't have to make the decision. I made it.
A short time ago, an American airplane dropped one bomb on Hiroshima and destroyed its usefulness to the enemy. That bomb has more power than 20,000 tons of TNT. The Japanese began the war from the air at Pearl Harbor. They have been repaid many-fold, and the end is not yet. With this bomb, we have now added a new and revolutionary increase in destruction to supplement the growing power of our armed forces. In their present form, these bombs are now in production, and even more powerful forms are in development. It is an atomic bomb. It is a harnessing of the basic power of the universe. The force from which the sun draws its power has been loosed against those who brought war to the Far East. We are now prepared to destroy more rapidly and completely every productive enterprise the Japanese have in any city. We shall destroy their docks, their factories, and their communications. Let there be no mistake. We shall completely destroy Japan's power to make war. It was to spare the Japanese people from utter destruction that the ultimatum of July the 26th was issued at Potsdam. Their leaders promptly rejected that ultimatum. If they do not now accept our terms, they may expect a rain of ruin from the air, the like of which has never been seen on this earth. Behind this air attack will follow sea and land forces in such numbers and power as they have not yet seen, and with the fighting skill of which they are already well aware. We have spent more than $2 billion on the greatest scientific gamble in history, and we have won. But the greatest marvel is not the size of the enterprise, its secrecy, or its cost, but the achievement of scientific brains in making it work. And hardly less marvelous has been the capacity of industry to design and of labor to operate the machines and methods to do things never done before.
Genesis chapter 27, verse 38. And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. I want to give our praises and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakah, Kodash, forgive me the spirit, to do this lesson. In this lesson I'm going into, Esau says that the nuclear weapon is his blessing. Okay, Esau said that the weapons are his blessing. Okay, and that's very, very factual. Okay, so he ain't saying nothing wrong because this blessing was given to him a long time ago. Okay, and I just read it. All right. Now you see clearly in the videos that I put together, okay, Esau sent a lot of things in there that connects with the scriptures. He called the scientists, which are the codesmiths, okay, the modern day codesmiths that put together the atomic bomb, these weapons, okay, that put together the nuclear weapons. He said what? It is a destroyer. Okay, and I'll read that in a minute. But these things go back to the scriptures. Okay, now he dropped that bomb in 1945 on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Okay, he dropped one and then it didn't surrender. Okay, then he dropped another one. Okay, during World War II. Now think about that. He's justifying saying, hey, it was better for me to drop those bombs and killed who I killed, okay, because they didn't surrender versus doing a ground invasion and losing a lot of American troops, okay, and even more on their side. So that's the reason why it was best for us just to bomb them like that. Come on, man. So Esau already has done stuff like this. So now we bring it up to now. Okay, his spirit, the way he's operating, looks like Trump. Okay, now Trump is a lot more outspoken, but the spirit of like no mercy. All right, sacrificing people. Trump got the same spirit on him. Now let's go back to Genesis chapter 27. Let's start at verse 34. It says, And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry, and said unto his father, Bless me, even me also, O my father. Because he just heard that Jacob got the blessing. Okay, you know that Esau sold his birthright, so hey, that's his fault. But we know it was Jacob's, at the beginning before the world was created. It was meant to be Jacob's at the end of the day. Verse 35, And he said, Thy brother came with subtlety, and have taken away thy blessing. And he said, Is not he rightly named Jacob? Right, a supplanter. And he hath supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he hath taken away my blessing. And he said, Hast thou not reserved a blessing for me? And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, Behold, I have made him thy lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants. With corn and with wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son? And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. Verse 39. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. Right, the fatness of the earth. Okay, meaning in the future, there will be a time where you will have it all. The fatness, all the fat, all the heavy stuff, all the great prime choice, the top. You're going to have it all. You're going to live in the best places. You're going to have the best houses. Okay, you're going to be on top. All right. Verse 40. And by thy sword shalt thou live. Right. That's the blessing. And by thy sword shalt thou live. Okay, so he gave Esau the technology to create this destroyer. Okay, so when he said, oh yeah, it's a blessing, it's a blessing, he's correct. It was his blessing. All right, it was his blessing to destroy himself at the end. So when they used it then, right, it shook the world. Everybody was weak. They were strong when they used it in 1945 against Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Okay, but over time, the other nations had to build up, right, to be a nuclear power, to have more military might to fight, to be able to contend with the best. At that time, U.S. is the best, right? They dropped that bomb. Everybody shook like, whoa. So that show you that Esau can just drop it to show his power and use the same tactic. Well, Iran won't surrender, so we got to do it. Okay, they named a ship, a U.S. ship, a warship carrier, okay, after President Truman, which you will see at the end. All right, so if they named a ship, a carrier ship, warship after him, that means they believe, okay, in his thoughts and how he operates. So when he says they ain't gonna surrender, I believe through the math, if I drop this bomb, it's better than invading. Let me just drop the nuke so they will surrender. Esau can do that again with Iran. All right. Verse 40 again. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, which they have it now, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Right. Okay. So that's what he did. All right. He came into power in the late 1300s, early 1400s. Okay, came into power. Okay, to take over the world and to deceive the world. He took down the images, put up his images to say all the angels, the prophets, the Lord himself, they're all Edomites. Okay, so he did that. All right. Let's go to Psalm chapter 17. Let's start at verse 13. Arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. Right. The Lord uses Esau. That's why he sent Esau against us, because Esau is his sword. Okay. And he blessed Esau with the sword. All right. With the instruments to bring mass death. Okay. That's the truth. Verse 14. From man which are thy hand, O Lord, from man of the world which have their portion in this life. Right. The fatness of the earth. Okay. Which is part of the blessing that he got. His portion in this world. This is his kingdom. That's why Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning. Okay. Back to the scripture. From man of the world which have their portion in this life, in whose belly thou fillest with thy hid treasures, they are full of children, and leave the rest of the substance to their babies. And they do that. They hand everything down. And Jake don't get handed down nothing but debt. Debt and bad credit. Right? Verse 15. As for me, I will behold thy face in righteousness. I shall be satisfied when I awake with thy likeness. Right? When we're changed. Okay? Because this is not our portion. Our portion is the kingdom of heaven. Okay? And we got to wait. But we at the end now. So we right there. We can smell it. We can see it. Okay. So his sword, his blessing has to be on full display and destroy himself, destroy the kingdoms of the world. All right. Make the earth shake back and forth like a drunk man. Then our kingdom, Yahushua is going to come. Then our kingdom will be established. And we shall awake. Okay. With the image of the heavenly. All right. I will end it on this. Isaiah chapter 54, verse 16. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire. Okay, the modern day smith, the scientist, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy. Did he not say that, Truman? He said they created a destroyer. So they knew that this was a destroyer. Okay, you'll see Trump at the end too say, hey, man, you know, the biggest threat to the world is nuclear weapons, not climate change. He says it straight up. Okay, so that lets you know, man, that lets you know what time it is. Now, I did a lesson. I put together, I think a couple, but I might repost it. We'll see. But I did a lesson about Hiroshima and Nagasaki and them talking about it and the pain and what the nuclear was like, and even the soldiers that tested it out. I forgot where they tested it out when they dropped the bomb and tested it and what it did to them. I did a full lesson on that. Okay, so that was in 1945 on up. Imagine now. Okay, the atomic bomb / nuclear weapon on another level now. Okay, because things have evolved. All right, but you see the spirit of Truman. You see it. You see it, man. It's the same spirit as on Trump, man. What you mean you gonna drop 2 atomic bombs on me to surrender? Damn. That's harsh, ain't it? Well, we ain't seen harsh yet. It's gonna get a lot harsher in World War III, and we in it. Okay, so with that, I hope you're edified. I want to give our praises and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakadash. Forgive me the spirit to do this lesson. Double honors to the elders of Great Millstone, and shalom to Yaakam that is doing the truth in all sincerity. Shalom.
Can the war in Iran even go nuclear? There are explicit warnings by one of the team members of US President Donald Trump. The harsh words are coming from David Sachs. He is in charge, basically a czar for artificial intelligence development in the United States, and he seemed to be one of the very few, or maybe the only one within the team Trump who seems to argue against the war, and he fears there could be a dangerous escalation in the case that Israel should get under enormous pressure by Iran itself and its proxy Hezbollah in South Lebanon, and Sachs fears that then the Israelis in a desperate move could use nuclear weapons against Iran. This is a scenario that has scared many people who heard it. The comments were discussed over the weekend. They came in an interview on Friday and have really shocked a lot of analysts around the world. And the question is, could this scenario really take place?
It's probably the end of the world.
Wow. I don't know what to say to that.
You know, when I listen to these climate lunatics and they talk about global warming, and they say the ocean's going to rise 1/8 of an inch in the next 300 years, and and nobody ever talks about nuclear weapons or some of the other things, but the nuclear weapons in particular right now. And they talk about the climate, and they talk about the dangers of the climate, but they don't talk about the dangers of a nuclear weapon, which could happen tomorrow. They say in 300 years. I watched Biden for years say the existential threat. He loved the term existential threat. Our greatest existential threat is from the climate. And I said, no. Well, the greatest is sitting in shelves in various countries called nuclear weapons that are big monsters that can blow your heads off for miles and miles and miles.
The USS Harry S. Truman, CVN-75, is a Nimitz-class nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, serving as a key asset in U.S. naval operations. It supports over 60 aircraft and plays a vital role in global power projection and maritime security.